Okay, sure.
Hello, everyone. I saw there was a
What's up,
couple
everyone? Okay, sure.
people waiting, so I just wanted to go ahead and hit the go live button. James is setting up a nice new mic that will be fresh and wonderful for your ear holes. So, in the meantime, Jeff and I will be. Oh, my mom's in the chat. That's nice. Hello.
Hey, Mrs. Tardino. Thanks for lending us your house the other week.
Yeah, that was super fun. And
Yeah, that was.
Jeff and I will kill some time while James gets that set up. So,
Oh man.
Am I on?
bro, we got Cormac the Destroyer in the chat. This is exciting, man. What? Corey, how are you doing, man?
Flipping.
So, Corey used to be in my old band Ascension, and we had an interview on 101.5 Bob Rocks, and they made us go through each of our names. And I was like, I'm Anthony, I play guitar. There's Travis, I do the vocals. And Corey was like, and I am Cormac, the Destroyer! That was fucking awesome, dude.
Oh, that guy's cool. He sounds so cool.
Yeah, dude, I freaking love that guy.
Oh.
It has been so long. I miss you, man. I'm so glad you're here.
Oh. Since we're... Do you really want to kill time right now, Anthony? Because there's actually something I want to talk with you about that we haven't talked about.
Absolutely. What's that?
Do you remember when you just turned on Instagram and Ollie Steele and I were on an Instagram live together?
Yeah.
And I was just chatting with him for like 30 minutes?
Yeah, I was losing my fucking mind.
I was too. And the entire time I was just sitting there thinking to myself, be totally chill. Do not freak out. But you are talking with Ollie Steele of Monuments right now. I just joined. I saw he was on Instagram Live, and I joined. I was like, "Oh, this is cool." And then he mentioned something. He was like, "If like nobody has any questions," or like he was like telling people like, join up, right?" And I was like, "Okay, cool." I'm like watching, and like nobody's doing anything. Like nobody's really saying much either. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll like request to be in this, and he approves it right away. And then because he was like, I'm gonna leave if nobody wants to join or if nobody has any questions, and I was like, oh, okay, let's try. And so I clicked join, and he was like, what's up? And I was like, what's up, Ollie? Thanks for doing this, man. And for like 30 minutes I was just fielding like not like rapid fire questions, but just like I just had so many questions come to me in that moment. I was like totally unprepared. I was outside at a brewery just hanging out, enjoying the weather, and I'm just like shooting the shit with Ollie, talking about songwriting, like music production, writer's block, how he approaches writing like different music and different things like that. It was just the coolest thing in the world. And I see Anthony pop into the chat and he was like, this is unbelievable. And I was like, yeah, it is. I don't know why I'm here. I have no idea how I got here.
Yeah, I know. I was blowing up the chat. I wish I could have listened, but I was at a family event, so I was just in the chat like, yo, that's my guy.
And that was a Sunday, and that was the same week that like I posted a clip on Instagram of a riff that I wrote for a track that James is the track that I sent you. I posted a recording riff of that, and Mark Holcomb like totally unprovoked liked my post, and I saw that notification come through, and I was like, I can die happy right now. So,
is my when I type
great.
into the chat, is that making a bunch of noise or is it fine?
I don't hear anything. No.
Cool.
Yeah.
I just responded to people who were saying hello.
So like all I have is my camera and you guys. I don't have like a chat or anything. I can't see who's watching, none of that.
So
that's same with me.
If you go to the YouTube link that I posted, you'll be able to see the chat. I could send that to you. Yeah, it's because it's a YouTube
I'm on
thing.
My phone, so I don't know if like that'll like fuck the Zoom chat up or whatever.
It might.
Actually,
but if
Anthony, how would I access it? Because I'm actually logged into the Tardino music.
Oh, if you just go to the page where it's streaming, yeah.
Okay.
It'll pop up there.
Cool.
So.
Actually.
Jeff, you are recording, right?
No, I am now recording.
Okay.
Well, because we'll just grab the YouTube stream, right, and download that.
Yeah, that works for me.
We'll get all the goodies. I mean, I can record it. I'll do it.
Yeah, I liked having the double last time.
That worked. That worked well.
Yeah. So hello everybody. Again, I'm happy to see there's 7 people. I think last time there were 2, so this is really cool.
Don't tell them that.
Hey, every time we grow a little bit bigger, that's all that you can ask for.
Hey, there were 2 of them, and they were very happy. They seemed very pleased. So.
Yeah, and you know, I'm just excited to be coming out with cool music and working with awesome people like Jeff and James. And since we kind of got set up now, I mean, I think James still has a mic that may be sat in front of him at some point, or maybe not. I think it's a good time to talk about introductions.
he just got an SM7B for personal reasons.
Actually, I didn't get it. Cody got it, but technically, I have an SM7B because we do our demos together and shit like that. So like it's like heartfelt ownership.
Yeah, we're a team.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
Is he like your roommate or just somebody you jam with and collaborate with?
Best friend.
Just a best friend.
Just.
He did me and Robbie wrote Spiteful, but he was the bass player for the video.
Okay.
And I mean, he's also like, we're doing a new project together and stuff, and actually we might be living with each other in a couple months, maybe.
Okay.
That's up in the air. But I mean, this is just my best bud.
Yeah.
People, let me tell you about my best friend.
Is he in the pop punk project with you?
Yes.
Dude, I'm actually really excited to hear this.
You're in a pop punk project?
Yeah. We started. It started off as just like we were just like writing some songs acoustically and shit, and then it was like, wait, so this is. It kind of sounds cool, and we started putting like electric to it and tried to make demos and shit. Now we got a bass player now. This guy named Derek. He's super cool. And it's coming together. It's coming together. We have a first real jam. I mean, we've been jamming and recording demos for the past like 3 months, but got our first official band jam next weekend. So we'll see how it goes. I'm excited as fuck about it. I'm kind of happy to take a break from screaming for a bit.
And you're singing on that, right?
Unfortunately, yeah.
I don't know that it's that unfortunate. I don't think I've heard you sing though. I'm definitely interested to hear that.
If you want to hear an overly saturated and what's that word? What's that word whenever they fix the vocals?
Auto-tune.
Filter? Auto-tune and all that shit. Yeah, if you want to hear some auto-tune bullshit from me, here's a drowning pool cover, but this will definitely not be auto-tune. Hell, you know what? I got demos. I could send y'all one of the demos, see how you check it out, because I know that me and Anthony talked about it a while ago, and you were like, man, I want to hear a demo, so fucking send it to you.
Man.
Yeah,
I sing clean. You didn't want to sing clean on my track? I'm just kidding.
Dude, I don't want to sing clean at all.
I've known this kid for 2 years, and I just got him to sing like a few months ago, and it's working. So I'm gonna try harder and harder to make this fucker sing.
Yeah. I mean, good for you to sort of like branch out, and because like you seem, James, I have very limited, experience with you other than blasting your voice into my skull for like a couple weeks, feeling like I had a direct line with the devil. But it seems like that style of music is something that you don't typically do, and I think like branching out, especially of things that might seem like polar opposites, is a good thing. Like, so I don't know if we want to like start getting serious like into the intros here. So why don't we like James, why don't you like tell us a little bit about yourself? I would like to get to know you more, and tell us about the music that you do, how you got into it, what you like about it, and then maybe like what artists like inspire you, and what types of music challenges you to kind of like be a better singer, songwriter, musician in general?
Okay. What was the first one again?
Sorry, I threw a lot at you. Just tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get into singing, and what other instruments do you play, if you play other instruments?
Well, honestly, my dad was and still is a musician growing up. I was at metal shows probably starting around like 3 years old. And, it's always just kind of been like something that kind of hovered around my life growing up. Seeing what, the things that my dad went through, and just all like, the bullshit that comes with it, and, the drama from the local scenes and stuff really turned me off. So I ended up not doing it for years. And then it was about 2 years ago, my buddy Evan, he's a guitar player from Murderside. Check him out. He had me audition for his southern metal band before he got into the heavy stuff, and he was like, "Man, there's something there, and you should really try it." And he really pushed me to actually try and do it. And then I ended up being in a southern metal band for like a year. Played a bunch of really cool shows, met a lot of really cool people, and then it was just like, like when I'm in a venue, when I'm listening to music, whenever I'm watching a documentary, it makes me feel like I'm worth a fuck. And so I guess it's at this point, it's the only thing that I want to do with my life. I fucking hate going to a job every day. Like, even when I'm like forcing myself, because we all have those moments where it's like, you kind of want to like take a break for a couple of days, but you shouldn't because you have things to do. And then it becomes a job. But for me, it's much easier than making myself go into work hungover or something like that. So like, to me, like, this is definitely something that I want to do for the rest of my life, and hopefully sell the fuck out and and actually make money. I don't give a shit. I don't give a fuck. I will fucking write pop songs for the rest of my life.
You just want to make good music, right? Like music that you're proud of.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome.
That's pretty much it.
Who are some? Sorry, Anthony, go ahead.
I just wanted to chime in. Your dad it's so badass. He goes by a name Sick Tom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I met him at the show in Nashville, and that dude he's a really cool guy. So,
Sick Tom. That's awesome.
He's a big bear.
Yeah.
So,
very intimidating, nice guy.
Like 150 pounds.
Yeah.
And like another foot.
My dad's name is Jeff, and my name is Jeff. Not what it says here in the little live stream. We're just gonna ignore that, friends. Nope, stop, James. Quit it. The one thing I told you to ignore, you put 100% of your attention to it in that specific moment.
You're making it worse.
I don't even know why I'm talking about it. I shouldn't have said anything at all.
All right. Jeff, you were going to ask a question before I interrupted. Go ahead, buddy.
Oh, no, dude. I was interrupting you. No, James, I was just asking, what are some musicians that you feel like really inspired by, and what are some musicians that sort of pull you out of your comfort zone to encourage you to think about and even create other types of music, right? That is not necessarily within your wheelhouse or within your comfort zone, or things that you're like used to.
Okay. So I'm probably going to get canceled for this.
Shut it down now.
Marilyn Manson, growing up, and still to this day, despite the things that are happening right now, I really don't even know what the fuck is happening anymore.
Well, I think we can separate the art from the artist, right?
That's exactly.
Yeah. So whether or not, we're not going to have that conversation here, but in terms of artist and art, or just the art that they create, we can talk about that, just so we don't have to be so trepid about it.
His shock factor, there's a lot of bands, I guess, that did stuff like that, but to me, bands like Kiss and Black Sabbath and Marilyn Manson and Slayer, and people who just like came out in a time where metal was such a bad fucking thing for the majority of the world, and you know it was so looked down upon, but yet these motherfuckers like just went out there and did it well, and gained a massive fan base and literally changed the course of history. Some of these bands made it to where we can do certain things in venues now that weren't allowed before, and especially like, you know, Marilyn Manson and uh, the things that he talks about and his music were things that not a lot of people had said yet. And to me, that like it spoke to me a lot. Um, so Marilyn Manson, Randy Blythe from Lamb of God, that's definitely one of like a huge influence. That Lamb of God has been one of my favorite bands since I was a kid. Uh, the I can't remember his name, but the first singer of Chelsea Grin was to me that was that's honestly like I practically shaped my voice training wise whenever I fully got into like, you know, like the techniques and stuff. Like that was one of the bands that I practiced with a lot. Bands that take me out of my comfort zone would be Typo Negative, but like it's one of my favorite bands. Alice in Chains, one of my utmost favorite bands, but vocally, you know, and singing and stuff, you know, it's definitely, you know, a comfort thing that I'm forcing myself to get into more, because, you know, doing a rock project and stuff now, it requires a lot of singing, and I don't want to go out and sound like shit. So I've literally been forcing myself to sing along with songs on the radio that I don't even fucking like, just to push myself into a zone that I have never thought I would get into.
That's killer. So do you play other instruments? Do you play instruments, or are you like purely a vocalist?
I dabble.
You dabble. All right,
dabble.
Yeah. Okay. What are you dabbling with right now?
Recently, so I've only had a handful of opportunities to do it, but piano. I absolutely love Beethoven, Mozart, Piscolini, or whatever the fuck his name is. Like I love classical. I love orchestra music. I love violins. I love cellos. I love everything about it. But you can take an entire orchestra performance and translate it into piano. And to me, that is absolutely beautiful. Just the sound of it. You can go from angry to sad to happy to any emotion that you want. And I very much want to learn how to actually get good at that. Right now, I've just been, you know, freestyling, freehanding, whatever. Turns out I don't suck at it, so I'm going to try it a little bit more. I actually grew up playing drums a lot. I haven't played in like, you know, actually sat down and you know, did the thing constantly for a few years now. Hell, 4 or 5 actually. I've gone on a kid a couple times within that time span, but it's, you know, you lose it and you have to sit there and actually really try to get it back, and it's just not something I've done. Guitar, Cody's been beating my ass, making me play guitar a lot more. A lot of our songs that we've been working on recently actually have all started off as me just doing random shit and finding, you know, like a good little rhythm or something, and then he's like, hang on, wait, and then he takes it and makes it sound way fucking better. But it's I've pretty much at this point, if you put an instrument in my hand, I'm gonna dabble with it for an hour and see if I like it or not. And that's just what I'm at this point. I'm really trying to dive completely into making this a career pathway.
That's cool. Have you heard of the composer Shostakovich? I think I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Shostakovich.
No, I have not.
I don't. Something deep inside me, Anthony, tells me that I have the right pronunciation.
I think you're right, but I just love saying it like that.
And it's only because I had a good friend a long time ago that grew up playing violin, and she was a fun, like, out of this world.
That's a
violinist.
He's Russian, and from he was writing music during the the 60s.
I don't know, but like James, when you were talking about sort of like the emotions and feel of different like orchestras and symphony, for me, I'm not like a huge classical like kind of fan of like orchestral music. I do appreciate it, but I don't like seek it out. But Shostakovich has always stuck in my mind because it's like I've been to concerts where they played Shostakovich and it was just extremely emotionally intense, like just through the spectrum and kind of thing. So if you've never heard of him, I'll send you a text later. I'll find the spelling and
send me a link.
Yeah,
if,
I will.
If you have anything like that, I will most definitely check it out.
Yeah, I think yeah.
Ironically, one of the people that's in the chat, actually, I wrote a paper about that composer with in college. So
oh man, that's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah, his music is really incredible. So with
well,
that,
Anthony, should we move on? I was just gonna say, should we move on to a listen, or should I start grilling you now?
Well,
does everybody already know you?
I'm just gonna say, I'm Anthony Tardino. Chances are, if you're here, you likely know who I am, and I do greatly appreciate everybody who's hanging out and has joined us. And I swear, if you have the patience to actually watch my mouse cursor cross the screen that many times, you are a beautiful person. Thank you. So, and then finally, I have my my co-host, my partner in crime, Jeff. Jeff, do you have anything you want to say?
No, man. Just so Anthony and I, we have written some music together. We've collaborated a little bit. We're sort of in the talks of what that's going to look like going forward and whatnot. But this project that he's working on, his his adventures project, he came to me and was like, hey, I want to put together an album. I don't know like how to do it. And I was just like, dude, I am not in a creative writing space right now. I wrote an EP and released that last year, and then I felt like I had no creativity left, no inspiration to write. And so I just like latched on, and I was like, let me help you. Like, let me see if we can put something together and make your music sound like really, really, really great and release it. And so he's entrusted me with the mixing, mastering, engineering, and even people like James has, vicariously and also just through his participation has also entrusted me to try to take this music to the highest level it can be at. And I've just been super grateful and thankful for that. I think it's been really fun for me to really work on production skills rather than like writing. And and then also like special thanks to Anthony. There's some upcoming songs that are really, really cool that he's allowed me to have a lot of creative say in, where I took one song and sort of rearranged a whole portion of it and almost like doubled the length of it. And it's been a fun road and journey to work together on this music. And so just to be here and listen to this track today, I think this is a heavy song. And James, what you did here really put it over the top and is something that is just totally brutal.
Man, honestly, I had like no idea what the fuck to do. Like there were certain parts because this is it, again, this is like a whole spectrum of.
Before we go into that.
Oh no! I was just gonna let him say. Let him say. Yeah.
I know what he's gonna say.
Okay, I think it's a good teaser though for it.
Okay.
James, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. So this song was like to me, it was super complicated, and not in a bad way. Not in a bad way at all. It's just for me. I went from being in a Southern metal band to that band breaking up, and then doing shitty ass covers for a little bit, and then I was like, you know what, I really just want to start actually writing music. So I went from Southern metal covers to pretty much trying to tackle different genres, but all in the same branch of the tree. You know, I've done hardcore, new metal. I mean, there's stuff that I haven't released yet, but I've started doing, you know, going into deathcore and, you know, down tempo, beat down, stuff like that. But I've never done prog. The only prog band that I actually listen to would be Periphery. Like, other than that, I've never like really dived into it that hard. So like when he sent this to me, I definitely heard, you know, there's like parts of the song where, you know, it goes into the whole, you know, we're nothing but a swarm of flies and stuff like that. That was like, for me, I heard Cradle of Filth and things of that nature. And then the very end of the song was actually something that we ended up putting in later, because I was like, yo, this like this song is super dope, but like I gotta have that super hardcore breakdown at the end. It's gotta happen. And then it ended up getting put in there. But honestly, whenever I first started writing on it, I was so clueless and so lost because I'd never done anything like this, that Anthony ended up going onto the track and repeating the words, "The world of ruin," over and over. And like just making them, like showing me how like a word would fit with the beat and stuff like that. And then I was like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Wow.
And then started writing onto it. But honestly, like I got to give Anthony a lot of credit on how I ended up writing this song, because if he didn't do that for me, I probably would have cried. I didn't know what to do.
Honest to God, if you would have cried into the microphone, you probably would have fit in the track.
Yeah. Just like heavy ass breakdown hits, and it's just James.
Man, I mean, yeah, teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Yeah. And I do have some stuff I want to say about that, but I don't know. Should we just go right into
I think we should.
the
yeah,
live listen and then come in
yeah.
right with that?
He'll do a bong rip. And we'll go right into the track. Here we go.
That's how
All
we
right.
fucking do it.
Let's see if I can get this.
I'm going to mute myself.
I'll do that too.
Imbibe responsibly, folks. Okay. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear this. Here we go. The world of ruin.
Jeff, can you make it so we share the screen with the like you've got it where you're sharing the screen, but it popped all of us into another window, which means OBS isn't capturing us anymore. So can you make it so we share the screen with your shared screen? Does that make sense?
I didn't do anything. I mean, I'm just sharing the Logic session, so I don't know. I don't know.
Well, turn off share screen for a second. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Should just go right back.
Yeah, because it's in a different window. I don't know. There we go. So, that was The World of Ruin, and it features this wonderful man's vocals, James Cole. He has made me laugh many times throughout the course of our conversations working on this song, and mixed, engineered, and mastered. I think those are the 3 words you want me to use, right? By Jeff Neiman. This song, it was
silicone.
James talks about it being a challenge for him. I was going to cut this song. This was not going to be a thing, and then I had one writing session where it finally worked out. So I just wanted to go back into what James was saying about, and everybody else has cut their audio out now, so it's literally just me. I just want to go back in. Yeah, I lost my ambience, man.
We're here, bud. You got ambience here? You want me to tap the mic?
So, James had sent me like, hey man, I've got some like cool ideas for the middle section, but some of like the really fast, like crazy parts, I don't know what to do. And I literally took this microphone and just sat down and was like, the world of ruin. Just like over and over again in the rhythms that I thought would work. And at that point, and I just kind of sent it off, and I didn't know what else he was thinking. Like he sent me, he had some ideas, and that was it. And then one night at like 1 o'clock in the morning, it's just like, bing, you received the Google Drive thing from James Cole IV. And I got out of bed, dude, and put my headphones on and listened to this. And Yumi was still awake, and she's like, really? You're doing this right now? And I was like, yeah, I want to hear this shit. And it blew me away. I listened to it like 100 times. I didn't go to bed again until like 4 in the morning. Because it was like, holy shit, like this song, I struggled so long. I started writing this song like when The Witcher 3 came out. That was
I love that game.
Yeah, man. Like I wrote the first like minute and 30, and I could not get past it for so long. And then finally it just fell together. And then when it finally did, I got like 3 minutes and 30 seconds. I messaged James, and we started working on it. And I remember like after the first session, I think, of like we would do these FaceTime calls where we talk about like how we wanted the song to go, and like the direction we wanted to go. And I think after either the first or second one, you were like, dude, at the end, I just want a fucking beat down. Like you're like, I just want to go crazy. I was like, fair, yeah, you're right. So, and I wrote that in like 30 minutes.
Dude, that's all beat down is. It's a bunch of 30 fucking second idea riffs that are, it's caveman. It's
yeah.
Fucking, child could do it. I could do it, and I can't even fucking play guitar.
I took all the guitars in one take, and then I set the drums, and then I started adding like those crazy like synth ambience, and I was like, all right, we're good. I'm done.
Which I love that. I remember it was that some of the synth stuff was already like a little bit in the beginning, because we did the whole like, a bunch of like news broadcasts and stuff like all like overlapping each other. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, bring that back. Bring it back. Uh-huh. It sounded cool as hell whenever it was done, man. I love the track.
Yeah. It was like the whisper section that you did, and then the last bit that's like the world of ruin. Then you start going into just total chaos, right? Just screaming, yelling into the mic. I was just like, is James okay? Should we check? Is he having like a Corey Taylor Slipknot, Iowa moment right now? Like, I think we need to reach out to that guy and see if he's okay. But it makes it so powerful. The entire that. It's the first one, like the whisper is super cool, right? And then the last part of just the single like quarter note or eighth note, like world of ruin, a corpse laid out to dry, like those lyrics is just a perfect lead up for like chaos at the very end. And I'm just like, kudos to you for choosing to just scream, right? Because everyone's like, oh, people are just screaming into a microphone. It's like, no, it's actual technique. You were literally screaming into a microphone at the very end and using technique and not using any words whatsoever. And I thought it was such a brilliant artistic choice for the track, right? To not use words at all. It was like, it's just the emotion and it fits so well.
Yeah, it's almost like a self-insert. Like, you get that you're feeling powerful emotions from what you're actually upset about in the song. That's at least how I interpret it. Is like, it's just it's this buildup of just frustration, and it is a release. So I like I said, when I listened to it. Cormac says, "Take this as a compliment, please. Pretty the facelessly." It's like the Faceless is basically what he's saying. He loves it. So yeah, the Faceless, man, they're an awesome prog band, and I agree. Yeah, my first thought was Slice the Cake.
Yeah, I mean, kind of.
What?
we were just questioning whether or not they're really prog, and I was like, oh, kind of.
I think they're. I mean, they definitely have a shit ton of different influences. Like I love what's that one? Like he just gets like all like it gets really heavy, and then out of nowhere he's like no, like it's just that deep fucking I'm a fuck you voice. I love that shit.
What a description.
Yeah, this is one of my buddy's favorite bands. I don't know if he's here. I told him to come, but Harrison. Yeah, you're so bitch.
What's the album where he's like, I am God?
Is that Autotheist?
Yeah, dude, that is a prog album, dude. Like, there's even like the Autotheocracy Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. Like, dude, that's a prog album.
You are the king of prog, sir. So I'm just gonna trust what you say.
I'm not the king, man. I'm not the king. There are other.
Okay, I'm sorry, the queen. Queen of prog.
Okay, I'll take the queen. I'll take it.
James, can you? I mean, I'm sure there's lots of people. So, like, you have got such a good, like, very, like, guttural, classic, like, Corey Taylor, Slipknot, self-titled, Iowa kind of thing. And he's talked a lot about how he was like, it was just totally unsustainable. But then you've also got such an incredible, like, vocal fry where, I mean, we can talk about, like, production a little bit later, but, I mean, I did, like, very little.
Autotheism is the name of that album.
But... So can you like talk about a little bit of the actual like techniques that you were using, like,
okay, yeah, So, all the techniques that I use now, came from, honestly, I'm just gonna give a quick shout out because he's my vocal teacher, Johnny Tsunami. He was the first vocalist of Divisive, and me and him met at my first show ever fronting a band. And he ended up coming up to me and he's like, man, you really got something. But I didn't, man. I blew my voice out that fucking day. I had no idea what I was doing at all. Like, and that's all I did. I just kept on blowing my shit out all the time. And then there's this song by a band called Sold Soul. It's called Son of Perdition. It features CJ McCreery. And that song, after me and Johnny started hanging out and stuff, it made me go up to him and be like, man, like, I really want to learn how to make these sounds. I truly want that to be my bread and butter. And he just started showing me techniques, and, like, we checked in on it every once in a while and things like that, like, you're positioning your tongue right, motherfucker, that type of thing.
Mhm.
And it all boils down to one, there are many vocalists out there who push so hard. They push really hard every time, and some people's throats can handle it, and others they can't. My vocals are one of those that can't. I can't do that every day. It'll fuck me up. I'll never be able to use it again. So I had to find certain vocal folds and certain just parts of my throat and uh, part of my diaphragm and stuff like that, like different ways of feeling it from here to there on how I end up executing it. So for my fries, they may sound super loud. And I guess in a way they are. I mean, they're not quiet or anything, but it sounds like I'm screaming my balls off, I guess. But really, I'm pushing only like halfway. And that's where the technique starts coming in. You got to find that right amount of push. That's not too much. That's honestly almost like in a terms of an elitist, it's a lazy push. And then you position your tongue, your mouth, your chest, all these different things in a certain way to where you are able to make a certain sound. And I call them pterodactyls, I guess.
That like
and then
yeah.
that shit.
You're so good at that, man.
Man, it took a minute. It took a minute of me sucking really, really hard. Like I did not think that I was going to be able to do anything with it in the beginning. I really thought, I was just like, man, I'm here to party, get drunk, and get laid, but that never happened.
Seems like that's a common thing in metal. Yeah. It's just like a bunch of dudes that just like, I want to talk about your tone. From what I've heard,
it's either metal or it's something else, bro. I don't know what it is.
So then with the lyrics, like you obviously kind of like took us to a dark place with the lyrics, So curious to how you approached this song. Has it differed from the way you write songs normally? And like why you chose the specific lyrics that you chose?
So I definitely approach this song a lot differently than I do my own stuff, simply because I kind of approach things on my lyrics a lot more raw, a lot more like almost as if like I'm speaking to you directly type of thing, where this is more of a, it could be anything, but it sounds like this. Because I didn't technically there were many things that I could have said way differently, but it would have, from all sorts of different sides, pissed people off. And I didn't want to do that to his music. I'm completely fine with doing that with mine. I don't give a shit who's mad. I don't care. Everyone's gonna have an opinion about something.
I'm the same way.
For his
I
music,
really don't.
Well, you should have said that.
This is the process they took, and this is the results they came up with.
If this makes you mad, fuck off.
If it makes you mad, you don't gent.
Yeah.
But I basically wrote this. It's very politically and anti-politically driven. I know that, and I'm not going to get into anything when it comes to politics. There's never a reason to bring that up in one of these. But there are things that we all get upset at when it comes to our government, our leaders, and I know, and every single person that is alive in some shape, form, or fashion, a leader has failed them in a way. And to me, this song represented how I felt about the way that we've been responding to it recently. you know, everybody's, well, not everybody, but it seems like a mass of people get really mad about something for like 5 seconds when it comes to this stuff, and then they just move on about their lives as if, you know, somebody, you know, or like, you know, like 100 people just fucking died, and then they're like, man, that sucks. I'm gonna share it on Facebook and act like I give a shit. And then that's it. And that's basically what I wrote the song about. I wrote the song about how our leaders have kind of been lacking, and maybe even being a little bit mischievous, a little bit of a, you know, white lie a lot here. I was going to say here and there, but a lot, you know, just in my opinion, things have not been going well all around the world. And to me, it seems like there is a lot of, there's a lot of hidden evil recently these days that gets overlooked a lot, and it really upsets me. I'm a type of person that I don't hate police officers or anything like that, but I also don't feel like somebody should have that kind of power over me. Just like I don't like, you know, a set of elected, you know, however many people that are 70 and above that get to make decisions for me. That's not something that I've ever been cool with. Ever since I was a kid, I've always had a problem with it. I know that, you know, we live in a country, and in every country, you live in a place where somebody makes decisions and rules for you. But for me, I guess that's just something that has always really bothered me. And this song kind of just showed all the aspects as colorfully that I could put it.
Yeah,
is pretty much how I put that in there. You know, usually I'm more straightforward, like, fuck you, I hate you, piece of shit, you make my butthole blue. Like, I don't know. Like,
wait. Hold up. Something ain't right.
Hold on a second. No, but I mean, like, it's
What I was gonna say is that, you know, what you said was really beautiful, and then you end it with "lick my butthole blue" or whatever the fuck you just said.
I don't know, man. I think we're going to a weird place with that one. Which, hey, I'm not gonna kink shame. All right,
Yeah.
you know what? The Smurfs are good for a lot of reasons.
You know, I'm gonna go ahead and turn off "Made for Kids" on YouTube.
Yeah, I did that. I was like, it's definitely not for kids. This is not gonna be a for kids stream.
Oh boy.
It is really cool to hear your commentary, your broader commentary or theory overall with the song, because it really does come through. And if I could sort of like apply my own sort of interpretation, like, one, you seem to be a person who really enjoys to ask the question of why, right? To challenge the status quo and to ask, like, why is it that we're doing it this way? Should it be this way? You know? And then your overall, like, broader commentary on kind of like the way things have been over the last year. And forgive me, I'm not going to try to, you know, get into your mind too much, but it's like the last year, 16 months has been really hard for a lot of different reasons. And your commentary on that and how, like, leaders fail us, I think that is, like, going to be a universal truth. I mean, even the most well-known, universally respected, like, leaders, like, we're all flawed in a lot of different ways, right? But I think that, like, that kind of commentary is important to draw attention to. And to sort of like wrap it up, like, your summarization of how you approach the lyrics in this, it makes the last part of the song make sense, where it was almost just like, why the, like, this is the way it is right now. Why the fuck is it the way this is right now? Why are we currently dealing with this? And then just sort of the last part of the song is just like that total desperation. Like, there are no words to express the anger, the frustration, the confusion, the, you know, being pissed off, being, you know, wanting to sort of tear down, like, the whole system or whatever, right? To me, that's how I'm sort of interpreting now the end of the song, where it was like, there are no words to describe. It's just the emotion, right?
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ruined. I think that this song is a great lyrically and musically. It's almost like an exposed raw nerve where James is really trying to irritate it. You know, that's how I see it. It's like, this is
I
fucked
like
up.
poking the bear.
Yeah, it's that he sees a problem and everybody's gonna know about it. And it's gonna be as audacious and as you know boisterous as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. But where are we going next, Jeff?
I don't know. Do you want to talk about production? It's like kind of the next thing on the agenda.
Sure.
Man, honestly, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Anthony.
I love the. So we've got some comments here. Corey says, "Preach," and Patsy says, "Love the deconstruction of the music." Thank you. I always consider these things like for me because I like picking the brains of the people I work with because during the process, because a lot of these people they're not even in my state. It's just kind of like all of a sudden some vocals show up to this song that I've as
in a Dropbox,
yeah festered hours in my brain space, and now all of a sudden like holy crap, like it's like this hyper politicized like thing, but it's so cool and relatable. That's and people like James, they can really you have talent. At least I know you have talent when you can take somebody else's brainchild like this and turn it into something so special. I mean, you made something that I already loved because I made it, and turned it into something like completely different, and I love it even more now. That's the sign of a true artist, in my opinion. So
agreed.
That was
now
really
let's
sweet.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. I don't know if that came out in that or not, but
No,
I do.
No, yeah, and thank you. I love being on
just
this.
kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, I couldn't agree more. Like you took something that was great, Anthony. Like instrumentally, like because Anthony's been writing music instrumentally and has a vision to have lyrics on top of it, and then to have somebody that can recognize the vision, see the vision, and then take it to a whole other level is super cool.
that's the plan.
So, yeah. Should we talk about how I had to do all this stuff?
So I'm gonna let Jeff talk about this and kind of go over what his approach was and where he was like when he's coming to this song with all these like because this is for anybody who watched the Concrete Nosedive live stream or just listen to the song, this song is so much more dense with tracks like just synthesizers everywhere. Like there are parts with just like random bass like just wah, like in your fucking ear. Like Jeff had a challenge in comparison to the last song that there's just way more stuff, and this isn't the end. For if you want a sneak peek of future stuff, the other songs of this thing, it doesn't get any easier. There's just going to be more and more tracks. Like I'm just throwing everything at it at this point. So that's kind of what I want from Jeff is I want to hear like how do you even approach this, because my mix of this song when I render it is terrible and Jeff makes it sound thunderous and evil. So take it away, buddy.
Yeah. I don't know if we could, James, we get a little bit of I'm going to mute you for just a moment. There's some background noise going on. So when Anthony and I first started talking about, and I'm assuming you can all see my Logic session here, right?
Yeah, I've got it. Up.
When Anthony and I first approached producing, a collection of singles into a full album, what we wanted to do first was sort of like establish a sort of like skeleton. And that is like, what sort of tone are you kind of going after? And so the first thing we went to was like sculpting the drums. Like what kind of drum tone do you want? It's like really common for people to be using samples, to be overlaying stuff like that. We're using the GGD kit, and I am layering multiple drum samples there in different places. So I have here, it's primarily, I've got the I think it's from the Reptile kit off the P4 kit. a little bit of a boost in the sub from the Modern and Massive kit, and then there's a trigger, a kick drum trigger in the Invasion kit that I really like. It's like a door knock kind of thing, and they call it the dead knock, and that sort of adds that little extra something.
That wetness.
And doing the yeah, and then doing the same thing with the snare. So primarily snare off like the P4 kit there, and then a little bit of extra layering, different tunings, right? So you get some like different frequencies in there. And again, Invasion, just using the triggers. So just trying to use those to sort of reinforce everything, but it's mostly, there's standard drum sounds for samples, right? So there's samples, and then there's, triggers, which are a little bit different.
Well,
and so we
hang on. What I want to explain is that sound that Jeff is talking about is that wet, like almost clicky sound from the snare and the bass drum. That dead knock sound that he's talking about is like
So that would be this. So we really wanted to lock down what that was going to sound like, and then we adjust that slightly. Depending on the track. Like this track, we wanted to, there's so much going on in the low frequencies, and we actually wanted to add a little bit more to that. And so that's why we're sort of reinforcing a lot more of those sub frequencies there. But once we got the drum sound set, we then started working on guitar tones, and we kind of established, like, he runs an Axe Effects. I think this one, Anthony, correct me if I'm wrong, this is an older track of yours that you already had set up, and you recorded it using a different amp sim in your DAW, right? This wasn't an Axe Effects.
No, this is Jeff makes all of my my.
Oh, this was the patch. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
This is a patch that Jeff sent me.
Okay.
There's only one song that does not. Well, two songs that don't use patches Jeff sent me.
Okay. Yeah. So I came up with this patch like for myself and just sent it over to Anthony. I was like, hey man, like, do you like this? Is this cool? And he was like, I love this. And so he's just been recording with that, which is good because I already have my own template for the music that I write and the music that I, produce, and I kind of know how to work with it, right? So when you're using, it's ultimately going to come down to that like cab IR, the impulse response. So I already know how to work with that. So he used that for this. Guitars are pretty straightforward. Anthony does use an octaver in this last section, which I thought was very tasteful. Drops, I believe it was dropped a full octave. It was 4 steps, right?
Yeah, it's from C to G sharp, which is the same tuning my 7 string is. If I was intelligent, I probably would have just recorded it on the 7 string, but instead I was like, no, I'm gonna be like August Burns Red.
But honestly, it sounds great. I mean, we can just do like a little sample here. So it was right. It was the. So really deep kind of, tones there. But again, we'd sort of set up already like how we kind of want the drums to sound and how we want the guitars to sound. So it then became a game of adding all of these layers, right? And like Anthony said, even without the vocals, right? There's still like, we've got a standard bass guitar track. We've got these sub drones going on. As well as like,
can you just like, there's one with like this really wobbly like can you just
the bass?
Yeah, there's one like drone bass.
It might be, yeah. So then that in tandem with this, and for context, like that was this section. Complete chaos all across the spectrum. We've got the intro here, which I think it's really cute. I think Yumi did these. She did a left and a right track, and then Anthony. This is from the original one that he sent, and he was like, "I want to get Yumi to be on it," and I was like, "Bro, I think we should layer them, right? So that way we can have this little, Yumi Anthony combo." And one thing I did was I played with a lot of space, so I did a lot of automation and volume with reverb stuff. I'll get to that with James, your vocals at the very end. I told Anthony, I was like, I want to send his vocals to space.
For those that don't know, Yumi is my fiance, so yes, it is cute that she's on.
It is very exactly. little keeping it in the family. And then Anthony sent me all these various different synth tracks that just like add layers on top of stuff. So there's lots of stuff going on there. Just reinforcing what's going on with the guitars, and so it was like just all throughout it was just complete and total chaos. Now you got this lovely timpani track down here, just like some hits, right?
This is so random. I love it.
And so that was cool. And so everything he sent me, in some of the in Concrete Nosedive and some upcoming tracks, I've pitched him ideas in different layers that he's really liked. Whereas with this one, like I didn't really have anything to add, and the only thing I added was in this last section. I just wanted to have this really sort of piercing, uncomfortable, like I wanted it to be a sound that didn't like hurt your ears, but kind of like hurt your soul, right? So with like James doing these vocals at the very end, like this is just so uncomfortable. Like again, just total chaos. I wanted to make it hurt. I wanted like the listener to feel super uncomfortable, and so I just added this high pitched thing, and I think I was playing with mixing it in like the left, like into a stereo track, and so I have it sort of like zooming between left and right. And so like it's not adding a ton in terms of like what you can actually hear, but I felt like it kind of contributed a bit to the sort of chaos and uncomfortable feeling that we got toward the end of the song.
There's definitely an unsettling nature to that ending section, just because of all the crazy ambient noises. Like there's still the band, and that's like that's your meat and potatoes, but you've got this like salt and pepper and maybe like some A1 sauce and some other shit that's just like it's making it, it's taking it to another level.
Yeah. And then so for the vocals, it looks like I'm doing a lot, but I'm really not. So like just some very small things to tame the low end here, because James has just got such a beefy voice, and you can tell like he's just right there in the mic, and you just get like a lot of those low frequencies. So just taming that, just some sculpting, some like minor sculpting, making space for a lot of the other instruments. And again, this is like a game of balance, right? Of like, what do we want to be most prominent? And this, I probably won't even go into the volume automation that I did, but this is like the whole reason why I have this bounced out track of his entire vocals, just so I could automate the volume of certain sections to reinforce it. And then I also did some other stuff to it as well. But what James sent over, it blew my mind because it fits so well with the track. And I, again, it looks like I'm doing a lot, but it's just, cutting out the highest parts, the lowest parts there, adding like a little bit of extra reverb, making sure that a limiter, that whatever we're adding is not going to like overload, a little bit of brightening there at the very end. And then there's this isotope nectar thing that every so often I'll let it do its thing and then see what comes out, and it's really fucking good sometimes. And I thought for James's vocals it worked really, really, really well. This is a free plugin you can get. I've done it once before, let it do its thing, turned it on, turned it off, and was like, this doesn't add anything to the mix. So all I was doing was anything to make it fit better within the mix, and then also add to the quality of it. But James, kind of going back to your comment about your high vocal fries and them not being like super powerful is what you said. There was so much like harmonic content in his voice that like I added. I mean, there's obviously like a bit of a. There's a little. No, see. Yeah. So here's what's crazy is yeah. Well, there's a little bit of extra overdrive on here, but it's like very, very, very low, just to sort of like beefing it up a little bit. But there was already so much vocal content. But yeah, these are the kind of vocals we're listening to.
This world of ruin, a corpse laid out to dry.
Part, and then here.
Your corpse laid out to dry. Doomed to bow down to lies.
Where's that high part? Is it here? Oh, it's right here. Yeah, there was just so much harmonic content. When I talk about harmonic content, I'm talking about like when you think of a normal tone, like a really smooth, it's sort of like a perfect sine wave, but something that has like more harmonic content is a bit more of a distorted wave, and it's got kind of that grit, those undertones and overtones. Basically, for those of you that play guitar, it's like take your clean tone, there you go. That's like a really clean sound. You distort it. It's adding harmonic content to the high and low frequencies. But his vocal fries just had so much going on that it really needed very little. And he even sent me the raw tracks without like any of his processing, which was very little. I think you were just pushing it into a compressor and maybe like a little bit of reverb, but it was mixed very well. It came over really well. But he sent me totally raw tracks, and I listened to him and was just like, he's done such a good job with what he sent me. I'm not even going to waste my time on the raw stuff, because what he sent me is so much better than what I can possibly come up with. And yeah, like it was all in all just a game of making everything fit in terms of just the frequencies, because it runs through the entire spectrum of like we've got sub frequencies all the way through and up until extremely high pitch frequencies. But yeah, that's kind of it.
Yeah. So, I mean, as you can see, I mean, even if you're uninitiated in like looking at these types of screens, can you put it back towards back on us, Jeff?
Yeah.
Yeah. So even if you're uninitiated and looking at those types of screens, I mean, you saw the just raw density of track. I mean, it looks like a fucking Architect song. But there's a little joke for anybody who's into this stuff. But yeah, I mean, this song's just super huge, and what Jeff was able to accomplish is awesome. Jeff, did you have any final words on the mixing, mastering end, or?
No, I mean, if you've got a good sound system with good subwoofers, this is gonna sort of like shake your soul. That's for sure.
Yeah, this is gonna rock your mind.
But yeah, this was definitely a hard one. This was a very hard track to mix, and I'm super hard on myself and the quality of work I can do. I always feel like I can be doing like much better. And I even sort of like, after we'd already submitted this for final release, I like sent Anthony a message like a week later, and I was like, bro, I got this idea and I think it's better and I want you to listen. I tried to pitch him like a new final version. And there's just like this running joke of like, when you send over final versions, it's always like final 1, final 2, right? It's like never actually truly final, because you always find something, but we tend to settle on a final version that we really like. But yeah, one day I was like, I sort of have like a little different vision, a reinterpretation. I had this like dream, right? And I was like, take a listen to this. And he was like, no, dude, the original's super good. And I was like, all right, never mind. Like, we're good here. But yeah, it was a tough one, because there's just like so much going on, right? And there's so much you could do with it.
Yeah, I think we're all suspect of, releasing something, or, even just performing and second guessing, like, was that even good? And Jeff, dude, I love this mix. Like, you don't have to go back and change it. It's really good. Be proud.
Well, I can't stop thinking about it. It's like like James, like Anthony saying he listened to it like 100 times that night. I've listened to it hundreds of times, and I like think about it frequently, because there's just parts of it where like songs don't really hit that hard, at least not a lot of them right now. And this is a song that hits really, really hard and is something to, should go up there. Should go up on that trophy shelf, like in history.
You know, I too struggle with the curse because, and I think that's when it comes to writing something basically just in the studio, you know, like it's like you're not like sitting there with a full band rehearsing it and then finding that final meat and taters where you're like, okay, yeah, we're ready to go record. When you just record it, when you just have an idea and you just start recording it and piecing it together, there are going to be thousands of doubts and different ideas that you can put into it. Like I have 2 and about to be 3 singles that are just sitting there done. But in my brain, like I listen to them, you know, hundreds of times and I'm like, man, but what if I did this instead? And like, or like, you know, what if I just added something right here? What if I put an extra layer just to fuck it up? Like I do that all the time. And then I bring it to Robbie and he's like, no, it's fine. Like there's a track right now that we you know, so far everything has just been programmed drums. And I don't have a super huge issue with it, but I grew up on fucking Anthrax and Pantera and Slayer, and I grew up on live drums being recorded for these tracks, and I can tell the difference. I know not everybody can, and not everybody even gives a shit anymore, but I love raw fucking drums. I mean, they're not raw, but you know, just the actual feeling. You hear a ting different from a real drummer versus a ting from a fucking from just pressing a key. So I ended up paying my buddy Seeger to redo the drums and do them live. And when I first brought that idea up to Robbie, we were super stoned and, you know, we were all just giggling and having a good time. And he was like, yeah, man, fuck it. But then I talked to Seeger like a couple days later, and he was like, yeah, man, I'll do it. I went back to Robin. And he was like, wait, what? No, I was kidding. No. I was like, I'm going to have to redo everything.
Oh my gosh.
But that's what we ended up doing. I think I don't want to put him through hell like that again. So I'm going to have to try to find a way to where I can finally just like settle on something and not want to bring him 100 ideas after. Like he'll stamp it on that Google Drive.
Yeah.
Final mix, and then I'm like, but what about this every time? And I think that's just something that we're all going to be cursed with. Even with, you know, being in a band, like I know a bunch of bands that, you know, started off with, you know, practicing it and it being a certain way, and then when they get into the studio, it's like, hey man, what if we do a completely different solo on there and things like that ends up being cool. But sometimes you can do it too much and then it takes away what you were doing in the beginning.
You got to be careful because your original vision is almost like something truly special, and if you rework and overwork, it'll really, you can totally take away from what you originally were going for, the direction that you were trying to take. Yeah, totally.
I kind of feel like not to take away from the quality and ultimate end product of like Phantom Thread, Anthony, but Phantom Thread on my EP was a song that he and I wrote together, and I lost the project, had to redo everything. And as Anthony knows, I love just like adding lots of like little layers and things. And I just experienced what a pain in the ass it is to try to recreate something that you didn't actually ever release, but was sort of kind of finalized, and trying to recapture that feel, right? And that's like kind of what you're talking about with a real drummer is this, that you're not going to get from like punching in MIDI notes onto a grid. Like you can do your best and sort of like have a little bit of a swing, move it slightly off the grid. You can do some humanizing things, but like having a real, you know, take and performance of it contributes to like an actual feel. It's like, instead of trying to punch in different sections of a riff, of a guitar riff, of like playing it and really spending the time to nail it and lock it down. I know John Brown recently talked about this. Like he would rather spend days trying to nail those 8 or 16 bars close to perfect than just try to punch it in, because it's going to lose all of its feel, right? And yeah, so I mean, kudos to you to, you know, exploring using like an actual drummer, and I'm sure it contributed a whole lot to the end product. And you know, one day we'll have the luxury of using real drummers, but for right now we'll use computers.
Yeah. I'm too broke for a real drummer.
Dude, hey man, I am too. I can't afford this shit. That's why I've got so much material now that's just like sitting around, because like, you know, like song by song, I would just get it recorded. And then instead of taking the time to vitalize my money and release one of these motherfuckers, I'm just like, no, I want to get another song, you know, and because like releasing a song, you know, you gotta get the proper artwork. You got to put in the proper promotion, the proper time in that promotion. And it's just a headache of money.
It's a lot of grinding too. Yeah.
Yeah. I have to bust my balls. Well, now I'm at a job that I actually very much enjoy, but before all this and during this time of even doing this song, I was just busting my fucking balls working a job that I hated and barely making any money, and then just scrounging by on my rent, eating ramen and shit like that, just so I can pay for the next thing to get done. And that's just something that sucks super hard. But I am super grateful that I had a buddy who does it professionally and has like his own studio and everything, that didn't charge me an arm and a leg to get it done. And that's just something that I was fortunate on. I'm probably not going to be able to afford to do live drums again for a minute. But honestly, if I can in the future, I would definitely like to do it more.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
It's definitely one of those things where if you can have live drums, it will change your song. Yeah, I know what you mean.
And also having the feedback of the drummer to be like, you know what, like, instead of like what you're thinking of how the drum should sound, like as a drummer introducing their expertise, they can sculpt the feel of it in a totally different way that you wouldn't have ever thought, right? And it's again going back to that whole concept of like teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Yeah.
If you're just one person coming up with everything, you're going to see it only one way, right? But then if you work together, like Anthony saw the track in this one way, but you took it lyrically and with the feel of like your vocals into an entirely different direction. Well, when you felt like you were a little stuck, you came back to Anthony, and Anthony's like, well, here's how I'm seeing it. And you're like, oh, and then you took that idea and you made it even better, right? And that's just that collaboration. And in a post-COVID world, we're going to have that.
Yeah, in person. Speaking of one person coming up with everything, I did want to talk about the guitar work on the song a little bit, because I am super proud of this. How was that segue, motherfuckers?
Hard segue. Love it.
So,
speaking of collaboration, guitars.
So, yeah, I mean, I started writing this song like so many years ago. I was sitting on the couch, my couch, in the other room, like maybe 20 feet that direction, and my buddy Tim, who I must mention by contractual obligation, every stream, he was playing The Witcher 3, and I was sitting there playing guitar, and I came up with the and I literally just sat there and riffed on that hard for like 3 hours while I was drunk, until I came up with like a minute and 30 seconds of riffs. So that's where the first 3 riffs that you hear came from. Is the intro is like and that's that riff is like really inspired by Graveless by Periphery, which also contractually obligated to bring up every stream.
Contractually, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's written in paper. Misha's got me signed to it. I can't, it just has to come up every time. Yeah, that riff is like super inspired by that like off time. Like there's a measure of 5, and then there's a measure of 4, and then there's a measure of 2, and then that's like that riff is just like that, the opening riff of this song. So That's where like that real prog feel comes from. It's just like the drums are just like thrashing, like hitting all the beats that are like should be emphasized, at least to my ear. And that's how I came up with that part. And then it comes right in with the breakdown. That's the first thing I wrote. The and then the like thrash riff after that is where I had it just stop for the longest time. Like I just did not have anything after that. And then finally I came up with like that whole, the whole rest of the song, like maybe 2 weeks before I messaged James. So like this song just sat there as like this short little demo, and I'm like, I swear I'm gonna use this for Adventures. I swear I'm gonna use this, and it just eventually it all fell together like so perfectly. Like I came home from work one night and I wrote that and then the next night I come home from work and I write the and start adding in like the little synthesizer sounds like and then the like almost like chorus synthesizers like ha 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 ha, and then
and to interject, like the bloominess of the bass, like that is just to pat myself on the back a little bit. We found a patch that worked really, really well, and I think it was just the tried and true 6160 model, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is just very sparkly, really bloomy without being like overly bassy, like a rectifier or something like that. But yeah, I think sometimes like finding the right tones and amp models can take your idea and really bring it out, right? So I would encourage everybody that's a guitarist, think about the kind of tones that you're working with, because like sometimes your ideas might not translate if you're using certain kinds of tones.
Yeah, I totally agree. Luckily, I'm the type of guitar player, and maybe other people can relate with me, where, I don't have, if I work 55 hours a week for transparency's sake, so there's not a ton of time for me to experiment, and the time that I do needs to be like productive. So having Jeff is a lifesaver for a lot of reasons, and his guitar tone patches are one of them. Like I have the same equipment that he has. If he comes up with something cool, he usually sends it to me, and then I can use that. That's like a powerful tool. So if you have if the time specifically to make your own guitar patches to make your guitar parts shine, awesome. But if not, like there are resources out there. You have other people who are using this equipment. Find it and like utilize it to your best what's the word I'm looking for? To your ability. Yeah, there we go. Use it to your best ability. Actually, it's just A. I couldn't make it past the first letter, but
BGXYLMT.
In short, the song came out in like this content explosion after I finally like got past that first riff. Like I had this momentum. I wrote the guitar solo that weekend, and then I had it originally end on there's like a false ending in the song. Originally that is the ending, where it's like this super prog metal like and that was the end. And
that's so crazy to hear that, because then it goes into the heaviest
most most badass part, the most memorable. Yeah. And the only reason that came to a fruition is because the genius below me here, James, was like, dude, I just want a really fucking heavy beatdown section. And that's when it just like it occurred to me, like, all right, I'm just gonna be August Burns Red. I'm gonna hit the drop pedal. And there's a motif in this song that's like there's always these rhythms where the first part of the rhythm is shorter than the second. And it's literally that simple. Like so the first breakdown in the song is like there's two more if you will, and then later on in the song there's a riff that's like like it just in that type of mindset.
It's like you're taking in the first section, you're taking far less eighth notes, adding in way more, and then adding in less. So it sounds like it's an off rhythm or sort of like a polyrhythm kind of thing, when really it's just sort of
It's just like a musical idea.
And,
it's just a musical idea that I theme and variation on throughout the song, and that last part, it does the same thing. Like, it's playing notes that are completely unrelated to the song, dun 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 dun, but it continues that theme of
but it works.
The first set of notes is shorter than the second, and that's literally all I did. I came up with it in like 30 minutes, and it's like my favorite part of the song now. Like, all the rest of the guitar playing is like really difficult for me, and like, but I just love that section and how it came up. I agree. Jeff says, let's wrap up soon. So
that's for the chat. That's just for us.
No, I agree.
But also for our viewers.
Yes, I think
be respectful of your time.
I think that with that, we've hit every major person involved with this song. I think that's a good point to leave it off on. I mean, is there any closing statements that you'd like to say, James, or you're muted, buddy. Here, I'm gonna.
Honestly, man, this was a challenge, but it was a cool challenge. I'm definitely gonna take a break from prog metal for a bit, because the next one that I want to do, I definitely want to keep on doing it well, and I think I need to study up on it a bit more to be able to handle it on my own. I did need, in my eyes, I needed a lot of help in getting this done, but the end result was just so fucking cool, and I love it. And I'm really glad that you brought me on for this. Thank you for fucking doing all the FaceTimes with me, and like you care so much about it, and I love working with people that care that much, that want to take the time out of their day to literally just like sit there on the phone for 30-45 minutes, like going over ideas and things like that. That is very much appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I will say I've not had a bad experience yet, but there's something to be said about working with people across the country and their passions and their abilities like matching yours, and like I said, you'd say I helped you a lot. I gave you some rhythms. You took this song with your voice to another level, and for that I really appreciate it. All I did was some rhythms, man, and that's minimal to the energy and the skill level that you bring to this with your voice. I can't stress that enough. I love this song. I was gonna cut it, and it's become like the most heavy. It just puts a smile on my face that this exists. So, thank you.
Oh yeah, man.
Oh, cool. Yeah, Jinx. No, man. Yeah, seriously, both you both did incredible work. Anthony in coming up with like the rhythm and the melodies of it, James in finding space, and even just like we could have talked about it earlier, but like leaving space in the song too. I find that like to be a really respectable trait for a vocalist, for them to be like, you know what, let's let the music do its thing, right? And not being like, I want to take up and sing the whole song. That was an artistic decision that you made that I think one reflects really well on you as a musician and as an artist, like as somebody that just respects the art and is not just trying to like get in the spotlight. I think that's like super cool, and I'm really impressed to see that, and I really respect that. And then just to kind of be part of this and just kind of noodle around with some EQ stuff. But yeah, everybody follow James Cole. He's James_Cole IV. I will add the Roman numerals. I want to say it's 5, but I'm pretty sure that's not the case. Sure, exactly. So it's the I takes away from the 5, which is the V. So yeah, it's 4. So it's James_Cole IV. So James_Cole for Roman numerals. Find Anthony at Anthony Tardino Music. And then you could find me and all my bullshit at Jeff Neiman, JEFFNEIMAN. That's it.
Yeah. We're both normies. We don't have the power of the 4.
I'm technically the second, but it's like not really. It's a weird thing.
Junior.
Yeah, exactly. You're not
Get
really
over
the
here,
second,
Junior.
unless it's the first. Get over here. Should we talk about Mortal Kombat? Come on.
No,
It
this
was
is
so
strict.
fun. Not
I
a good
loved
movie
it.
at all, but it was so much fun. Oh man, yeah. I
All
loved
right.
it.
Dude,
So,
I
for
swear,
everybody
it's
who wants to
Prodigy.
listen to the following stream about Mortal Kombat. And how do you not know your Roman numerals, man? Play your goddamn Final Fantasies. Damn it.
Shut up.
Nerd.
Athena Project. Deleted.
Anyway, thank you, everybody. We fluctuated between a couple people. We fluctuated between like 2. Well, we have 2 now, but we started with 10. Everybody who's chimed in and even sat for a moment and watched my freaking cursor fly around the Zoom screen 100 times. Thank you so much. And this was super fun. I really do appreciate everybody who takes the time to check out the music. Seriously, follow James Cole. I've heard his next single. It's really cool, and dare I say, it even has some prog metal elements to it. So, I heard a clean section. So,
No.
I was like, no way! Yeah, man!
Which what?
Yeah, think about it.
The Tearaway cover.
No, the thing that you sent me most recently.
Fuck. I don't know. I haven't sang.
Anyway, it's coming up in 2021, 2020.
Maybe you hit the delete button on that one already.
Don't. That's the lesson of today. Do not delete or like abandon ideas, because what it might take is just some other person's creative, interpretation of it. This song would have not existed, if James didn't kind of jump on.
Way to wrap that up beautifully. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. See you later.
Oh yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.